holding this big, beautiful sign?
Well, this is a Ron Paul sign.
I couldn't conclude that. It says... Yeah?
What does Ron Paul stand for?
What does he stand for?
For me, he stands for an awakening.
Yeah?
I was never politically active until I came to the realization that our country that we love, that I grew up as a young child pledging allegiance to a flag, wanting to be in the land of apple pie and in the land of opportunity. This country was deliberately and is deliberately by design being spun down into a third world country. And the only way we can take this country back legally is through Ron Paul. We got away from the institution and the institutions that made this country great, which was the Constitution. And if we follow what Dr. Paul says, then this will be the quickest way we can get back to our liberty.
How do you answer the critics, the many, many critics who claim that his foreign policy is, quote, insane, unquote?
I look into the source of information. Anytime you hear information, you have to look into the source. Right now, the so-called propagandists that you hear this from, you have to look into where they're getting the information from or who they're getting their marching orders from. And I see that most of this information is spun off from our controllers, which primarily come from the Federal Reserve Bank. Is a primary example of controllers who want to make profit. And in order for them to make profit, they see the quickest way to do that is through war or through fear. And in doing this, you manipulate your population and so that you can build them up and then break them down again, form them the way you want to. And the way it seems that we're going now is that we're going into a third world state, which means that the money that you have now will no longer belong to you, it will belong to someone else.
You mean that you don't like the Patriot Act and that wonderful latest act that the Defense Department can take you away and not say anything to anybody ever again? You don't think this is the act of a beloved president who loves your freedom?
This is the act of somebody who is in the last role of just trying to grab on to anything they can. They realize that this awakening in the people's minds of this country to this manipulation that has been going on is so great that they struck first. And intellectually, we can finish them all. Militarily or physically, we cannot do it. But intellectually, if we battle these again and again, with Ron Paul's message of using the Constitution, intellectually, we can take this back in the Patriot Act and the NDAA will fade away in the lightness.
John, you're very articulate. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Now let's talk to another young swain who lives in Ferndale, no?
Correct.
Hi, I'm Fred. What's your name?
Fred, I'm Justin.
Justin, okay. And I presume that you're not for... Oh, Ron Paul!
I do. I have a can of whoop ass right here.
A can of whoop ass. Why are you for Ron Paul, Justin?
Well, I'm a veteran of the U.S. Army and National Guard. I served 8 years. I came home from Germany. I learned about Ron Paul on the internet, and I thought he was the best person I'd ever heard of before, and I decided to support him instantaneously. I donated to his campaign in '96.
Well, that's you. Why is he the best? What reasons?
He's the only candidate that actually supports the Constitution. He's actually the only elected official that I'd ever had a 100% record, pro-constitutional, limited government.
All right. Could you give me an example of how he does things for the Constitution or remains within its bounds and others don't?
Okay. He actually reads the Constitution, and then he votes according to that. And when he writes a bill, it's like less than a page, and it's understandable, and I can understand it. It's easy to remove legislation that's unconstitutional. So if it's under less than a page, if it's a page-long bill, it's Ron Paul. It might be constitutional.
So
if it's over a page, it's probably not constitutional.
When he has his policy, declaring that the Department of Energy and the Department of Education should be abolished, and he says there's no authorization for them in the Constitution. Is that what you mean?
Yes, that's correct. Because the actual word Department of Energy is not in the Constitution, so if it's not in the Constitution, it's unconstitutional.
So, I'm sure some of the opponents would say it's all in the Welfare Clause. And of course, by doing that, they can justify anything.
Well, actually, it's not in the Welfare Clause, because if you actually read the Welfare Clause, it's not in that. It's not in the First Amendment. It's not in the whatever. They'll make those are misinformation, and I guess if people are too lazy to go actually look into the Welfare Clause, or even if they know what the Welfare Clause is, which I don't actually know where that's at. That's in section 1.
Well, I'm not a constitutional scholar, but where would you say he gets his attitude toward bringing all the troops home and having a, quote, non-interventionist foreign policy?
Where does he get that idea?
Yeah.
Bringing the troops home?
Yeah.
Oh, because it says in the Constitution that you have to declare war before you can actually send troops, and Congress has to do it. And that's where he gets it from.
Come to think of it, the last war that was declared was World War II.
Right.
Korea, Vietnam, and all these Latin American things were skirmishes, and
right, and we won that one, and we came home.
Yeah.
Without a declaration, you can't even go to war. And then what happens if Iraq says, you know what? No, we don't accept those terms. Then it's like, what are we over there? How do you get out of something that you didn't start? You know what I mean? Like there was no like end game. There was no end game. There was no like written on paper. Like, okay, so why are we going to war? A declaration is like, well, we're going to war because you took our donut or something. We're going to go back and we'll get our donut back or something.
It wasn't even that clear.
There wasn't even that clear. So
it was a vague hint of weapons of mass destruction, which proved to be a lie.
Right.
So you like Ron Paul,
yeah.
and even though the mass media has regarded him as a loser and this and that and insane and too old, and they make fun of him, why are you so loyal to him?
I guess I swore an oath to the Constitution right after high school. I joined the military, and I knew what I was doing because I had a very good government teacher, Mr. Harriman.
This is an extension of your own belief in the government's Constitution. Is that what it is?
I actually had like a really good education, and I was actually knew when I was defending the Constitution. I wasn't defending democracy or freedom or the president or whatever people believed. I knew what I was actually doing, and so when I came home, when I went over to Germany, I realized that I'm not doing what I swore an oath to, and that this is wrong, and that when I get home, I need to get into politics. That was what.
Justin, I agree with you. Thank you.
Thank you.